as if the absolute darkness of the apartment was hiding terrible secrets. Every night, in the eerie silence of the apartment, I hear strange noises, see flickering shadows in the corners of the rooms, and feel like I was being watched. One night, after coming home from work, I was exhausted and anxious. Hoping to escape those disturbing feelings, I stood in front of the full-length mirror in my bedroom and started combing my hair. Suddenly, the trembling reflection of a shadow in the corner of the mirror caught my eye. A shadow that moved quickly and eerily mimicked my movements. Fear and terror shook my entire being. With eyes wide with horror, I stared at the shadow. It was as if in the absolute darkness of that apartment, only me and that shadow were left, facing each other in a silent duel. Suddenly, the shadow stopped and looked at me. At that moment, it was as if all the darkness and horror in the world were condensed in the empty, black eyes of that shadow. A terrifying scream erupted from my throat, and I backed away from the mirror. My heart was pounding, and my breath was coming in short gasps. It was as if a never-ending nightmare had begun. I wandered the streets until morning, terrified of returning to that horrible apartment. Finally, with the sunrise, I reluctantly returned to the apartment. I cautiously went to my bedroom and looked at the mirror with hesitation. As if nothing had happened, the simple and lifeless reflection of myself was visible in the mirror. But I knew the shadow was still there, waiting for an opportunity to reappear. From that day on, my life became a constant nightmare. Every time I looked in the mirror, the fear of seeing that shadow again gripped me. At night, in sleep and wakefulness, the shadow of the woman and her empty eyes paraded through my mind, robbing me of peace. A few months later, on a night when I was exhausted from anxiety and insomnia, I was tossing and turning in my bed. Suddenly, a sound like a scream came from the depths of the apartment. I jumped out of bed in horror and ran to the bedroom mirror. It was as if my nightmare had come true. The shadow of the woman had appeared in the mirror with even greater clarity. This time I saw a woman with long black hair staring at me with empty black eyes. A terrifying scream escaped my throat and I turned back. Suddenly the woman crawled out of the mirror and ran towards me. It was as if the absolute darkness of the apartment had swallowed her, and now she was present in my real world. I wanted to run away, but my feet were glued to the ground. The woman came closer and closer. I could feel her hot breath on my face, and absolute terror gripped me. She stretched her hands out to me, and at that moment, absolute darkness consumed everything. When I woke up, I was in a strange hospital. The doctor said I had passed out due to lack of oxygen, but I knew that the shadow, that woman, was something more than an illusion. The taste of terror from that night was still in my mouth, and I felt like the shadow was still waiting for me somewhere. I never went back to that apartment after that day, but my nightmare wasn't over. Every night, in sleep and wakefulness, I saw the shadow of the woman staring at me. In every mirror I looked into, I saw the reflection of that shadow as if it was following me. No place seemed safe anymore. I went to a psychiatrist, but it didn't help. No one believed me. They thought I was crazy, but I wasn't crazy. I was just experiencing absolute terror that there was no escape from. Years passed and I tried everything to get rid of that nightmare. From prayer and worship to spells and magic, I tried everything. But nothing worked. The shadow of the woman clung to my existence like a parasite and would not let me go. One day, by chance, I met an old woman who worked in the occult. After hearing my story, she said she could help me. The old woman performed a magic ritual and cast a spell on me, saying that it would keep the shadow away from me. At first, I didn't believe her words, but I had no choice but to try. From that day on, my nightmares gradually stopped. I no longer saw the shadow of the woman in the mirrors. I felt like I was finally free from that never-ending nightmare. But even now, sometimes, in the darkness of the night, I feel that the shadow of a woman is watching me,